All right, welcome back in, everybody. Hey, let me tell you about Bravo Pizza of Havertown before we get to our next guest. Thrilled that they are a part of the channel, that's for sure. Bravo Pizza of Havertown, been going there since I was a kid. Family owned since 1985. Great thing is food is fresh, made daily, nothing under some heat lamp. Bravo Pizza offers 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. I love the upside down. Like I said, I love the specialized pizza because you get it any way that you want it. But it's not just pizza. It's fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. Bravo Pizza of Havertown is also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You could follow them at the Bravo Pizza of on Instagram and Facebook. They're at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. You can call them right now, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. All right, welcome back in, everybody. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn hanging out with you on this Tuesday. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Time to set our sights a little bit more on the Birds and the big move that they made yesterday with Tennessee Titans. And to do so, we welcome in for the first time on the show, very excited to have him join us. Terry McCormick, who is the Titans beat writer. He's been covering the team since 1997, and he is the publisher of TitansInsider.com. Hey, Terry, I think we may need to kill the feed if you have it up on YouTube because we're getting a little bit of return on that, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I don't think I have it on. I don't think I have YouTube on. I'm through the StreamYard.
No worries. Just getting a little bit of return there. All right. So, Terry, first off, I appreciate you joining us. And could you give us a little bit of information on this deal and your estimation, what the Eagles are getting in Kevin Byard, how much he has left in the tank, and just, how he's played as a Titan?
Well, you're getting a guy who is the consummate pro, both on the field and off. He's a guy who really is kind of a folk hero almost, kind of hearkening back to the early days when this franchise moved here. Outside of Eddie George, Steve McNair, and Frank Wycheck from those early days, he's probably as popular a guy that's been around here in a long time. And he's a heck of a player, too. He played locally here at Middle Tennessee. I know he's a Philadelphia native, but he grew up in Atlanta and played at Middle Tennessee about 30 miles down the road, then was drafted here in the third round in 2016. And from that point, was a beloved player. One, because he was durable. He never missed a game in 7+ years as a Titan. And two, because he was a heck of a player, a two-time All-Pro safety. Now, the numbers on him this year don't look great, and I think some of that is due to the fact that they've had some problems in the secondary. Their cornerbacks have not been very consistent. They've not been very good, and sometimes there's a domino effect with that in a secondary when things are not going well and you're having to cover for other people and try to cover up mistakes. But I think he will solidify the Eagles secondary, and he's a big play guy. He's a ball hawk. 27 interceptions over his career. He had 19 career interceptions when he was in college at Middle. So he's a guy that has a nose for the football. He studies. He's a great guy in the locker room. He was a team captain here for a number of years. And, you may not be getting a guy who is, a young buck, so to speak, at 25, 26 years old anymore, but you're getting an experienced guy who still has a lot left.
Hey, Terry, does Howie Roseman have some dirt on the Titans front office? I mean, he keeps fleecing them for their better players here. See, what's the Titans doing here?
I'm telling you, the next time they, get a phone call and it says Howie Roseman on the caller ID, they need to hang up as soon as possible. Oh, gosh, because the Titans' downward spiral really started last year on draft day when they traded A.J. Brown to Philadelphia. And, you've seen what A.J. Brown has been able to do in Nick Sirianni's system and what's, Shane Steichen put together last year, and they've continued on this year. He's, developed into one of the top 3 or 4 receivers in the league. Not that he probably already wasn't that when he was here in Tennessee, but, to my way of thinking on that deal, Titans were a little bit up against it or knew they were going to be up against it salary cap wise, and they chose to sign Jeffrey Simmons to an extension. They had already signed Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill to previous extensions. And when it came time to make a decision, they probably should have chosen A.J. Brown and went a different direction and run the risk and let somebody else walk away.
Terry, let me circle back to Byard for a minute. Is he a guy who has the versatility to play either safety spot and potentially nickel corner as well in your estimation? Because the Eagles have had a lot of injuries on the back end here and could maybe use him in any of those spots. Where do you think he's best utilized in your estimation?
Well, free safety is his natural position because he's a center fielder type of guy, has a real nose for the football, like I'd said. But the safeties are kind of interchangeable. He and Amani Hooker formed a pretty good tandem here. So there are times you'll see him come down in the box and Hooker be the deep cover guy playing back in the free position. As far as nickel corner, that's not anything that he's ever done. But I'll say this, from a football smart standpoint, it certainly wouldn't be something that he couldn't take on if they really needed him in a pinch there.
Mm-hmm. Terry, is Vrabel in trouble there? We keep hearing a lot of outside chatter about Vrabel's status and things of this nature. Is he on a short leash right now?
No, I don't think he is right now. And here's why I say that, because they fired John Robinson last year toward the end of the season, brought in Rand Carthon as the new general manager to work kind of in conjunction with Vrabel in terms of the decision making. And I kind of liken it to when there's a presidential administration change, how when a president first comes into office, he gets to blame the guy that was there before him for the first year or so. And then at some point, though, it becomes your mess to clean up. So I think the Titans are kind of in that window where they can still blame John Robinson for what's gone wrong here. But if it's not fixed by this time next year, then I think you might see Mike Vrabel's name start to be mentioned on the hot seat.
Okay. Sorry, do you think they keep rolling with Tannehill, or will there be a replacement, do you think, with either Willis or Levis at some point?
Well, Tannehill's on the shelf right now with an ankle injury. Suffered that over in London. Kind of the same injury he had last year, and he eventually had surgery on it because he kind of came back on it too quickly. From what the situation with Tannehill is this. He's in the last year of his contract. And if Byard is the first domino to fall toward a rebuild, then you got to figure out, starting this week, probably, I think you have to take a look at Will Levis to see what you have. He's the guy who was projected to be a first-round pick. He lasted till the start of the second round. They traded draft capital to move up to get him to be that quarterback of the future. So, he's been inactive every week, been the emergency third QB. I think this is the time, coming off a bye, that you need to give this guy a look and see what he's got, because Tannehill's probably going to be out Sunday, and I would assume he's going to be out when they have a short turnaround on a Thursday to go to Pittsburgh. So that gives you a 2-game window to kind of take a look at what you got. They kind of have an idea what they have in Malik Willis. Yep. And the truth is, while he's a great guy and he's worked hard and he's learned a lot, he still doesn't look ready to be an NFL quarterback. There's still too much of that Hugh Freeze Liberty offense in him where, if it's not there, go make a play. Well, that's fine, well and good at Liberty, but that doesn't work when, somebody like Joey Bosa is bearing down on you and about to rip your head off.
Hey, Terry, what is the fan base and the media basically saying about the fact that the Titans have spent a lot of capital in back-to-back years on quarterbacks? Obviously, when you look at, teams trying to build, some teams like to build from the inside out, from the trenches. Some like from the back end to the inside. What are the media in Tennessee and the fan base there saying about how they've spent their draft capital in a quarterback situation?
Well, I think, one of the things that I think that people around here are wondering about is, why would they go and draft another quarterback? But you got to remember, this is another GM coming in. Yep. So I think one of the things I think they hedged their bet in terms of drafting Will Levis this year was the fact that Malik Willis performed poorly last year as a rookie, really wasn't ready for, the responsibility and didn't have the knowledge of the system and the things like that coming from where he came from in a full out spread system. So in terms of that, I think they didn't know if Malik Willis was going to develop. So they went and drafted another quarterback in Will Levis, thinking that he could develop. Now you got to remember, different general managers.
Yep.
John Robinson drafted Willis, Rand Carthen drafted Levis. So they let both those guys compete this year, and Willis, to their surprise, I guess, and to their, pleasantly surprised, he showed enough improvement that they made him the number 2 quarterback coming out. So I think they still feel like there is something there that maybe can be salvaged with Willis, but he still has a long way to go. And now you've got 2 quarterbacks that you're trying to develop and then trying to pick one to be a starter.
Terry, by the way, love the Robert Brazil behind you. That's strong.
Yeah.
Good work. Good work.
Yes,
there.
I'm out here at the facility. This is in one of the rooms that they have here for us.
A question for you about the Eagles. Obviously, we love getting perspective from folks around the league and that aren't quite in the fishbowl like we are. What do you think about their chances to get back and potentially win a Super Bowl this season?
I think is as good as anybody, and adding Kevin Byard can only help that, guys. When I look at the NFC, I see, really 2 teams that are head and shoulders above everybody else. And I think that's the Eagles and the 49ers. I wanted to put the Lions in there, but they got demolished by the Ravens on Sunday. So I don't know if that was just a 1-game aberration or if they're for real. I honestly still think, looking at the Vikings remaining schedule and the way they looked last night, if they could get Justin Jefferson back, I still think they have a shot to win the NFC North. The NFC South, I think, is kind of a wash. I don't think anybody is coming out of there that's going to be a real threat. I think that the Eagles are a better team all the way around than the Cowboys. So to me, unless somebody like Seattle or Minnesota gets really hot, I think you're going to see very likely a rematch of the NFC Championship game last year between the Eagles and the 49ers.
Terry, does it surprise you? I know you're on the outside looking in, but does it surprise you how Eagles GM Howie Roseman continuously just adds pieces to the equation? Last year it's Linval Joseph and then Ndamukong Suh. This year they go out and get Julio Jones. Now they get Byard. You don't see many GMs across the board that are in season aggressive like Howie has been consistently.
No, you're right, and it's a good thing, I think, because when you have a good team, you build through the draft, but then if you see an area that's deficient or an area that becomes deficient because of an injury, that's when you need to go out and get somebody. I mean, Howie Roseman kind of has a baseball GM mentality in terms of how in baseball at the trade deadline, some team will go, hey, we need a third baseman. This guy's not getting it done. They go out, get a third baseman from some team, and then all of a sudden everything's good to go. Howie Roseman seems to kind of have some of that mentality, and I applaud him for it. I think, if you can make it work cap-wise and you've got a team that's one piece away like the Eagles felt they were with Kevin Byard, I think that's absolutely the approach you should take.
Terry, the AFC is a little different than I think we anticipated it looking, before the season. Like, I know Buffalo's banged up, but you never know what you're getting week to week with them. Miami's the 2 decent and to good teams they played, they've lost. Baltimore looks like they're hitting their stride at the right time. Jacksonville's hot. There's always Kansas City. But if you had to take the Chiefs out of the equation, who do you think the second most dangerous team is?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there are a lot of teams that are one week look like world beaters, and in the next week, they look like they can't get it done. I think whoever comes out of the AFC North is going to be a problem. Whether that's Cincinnati, whether that's Baltimore, I think whoever wins that division is going to be a real problem and probably present the best challenge to the Kansas City Chiefs. I'll say that with one caveat, unless the Buffalo Bills can figure things out, because they have the potential to dominate, because they're good on both sides of the ball. Josh Allen is a little inconsistent, or has been a little inconsistent at times this year.
Yeah.
But I still think they're better than Miami. And if they get their act together, I like them. But I really like whoever comes out of the North between Cincinnati, Baltimore, and I can't rule out Cleveland if they get their quarterback situation figured out, because their defense is, Sunday notwithstanding against the Colts, their defense is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no question. No question. Listen, Terry, we appreciate you hopping on. Really good insights here. And just to reiterate, you feel like Byard's going to be a good fit for them and make an impact, relatively quickly, correct?
Absolutely. I think he will make an amazing impact on this team. He already knows people up there, and A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. He'll fit in well in the locker room. If you get a chance to meet him, tell him we said hey, because, he's a very personable guy, a very accountable guy. You're getting a true pros pro.
All right. Terry, he's been covering the Titans. Yeah, great stuff since 1997. He's the publisher of TitanInsider.com. You can follow him on Twitter/X at TerryMC13. Terry, we appreciate the insights, man. Thanks for hopping on today. Thank you.
Be good. Be good.
Yep. All right. You got to take care. Good stuff, Gunner. Terry, very, very insightful, very informative. And, that was the reputation. The reputation with Byard is a pro's pro, is versatile, can do a lot of different things for you, will fit right in with this locker room. I mean, he's perfect with the rest of these guys. This is a good group that the Eagles have. It's a culture that they have. And I'm telling you, they won't skip a beat with this guy being plugged in.
Well, the biggest thing I like is his availability and his durability. You talk about his consistency, and you talk about plugging him in on the back end with his wealth of experience and knowledge on the back end of a defense that has been, let's face it, ravaged by injuries. Luckily, nothing that has been season-ending yet. And we still don't know when Justin Evans is coming back.
Right.
So you have somebody who is, I think, an upgrade over Terrell Edmonds. And, and to go back to when they made the move for Edmonds, what did I tell you? Anytime a Mike Tomlin lets a primetime player go, when I say primetime, I mean a guy who's only 26 years old, I have a red flag. There's certain coaches, when they let certain players go, when they're like 25, 26, 27, it's an automatic red flag for me because of the position they play and because of how consistent they've been at that position. And because, Terrell Edmonds didn't pan out in Pittsburgh and he wasn't killing them financially.
Yeah.
And obviously, number one, Pittsburgh wasn't willing to pay him big money, and they were more than willing to let him go. That was a red flag, just like it was with Robert Quinn. Same thing. Now they hit it right last year when they got CJ GJ and Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. We'll see if they hit it right with Julio, because we know his track record over the last 4 years.
Yeah.
But I do believe, in looking at the Byard move, they've stabilized the back end of that defense until Reed Blankenship can get those ribs right. Even if you got to play kids back there with them, like, Sidney Brown, I think it's a big upgrade in terms of stabilizing the back end of that defense.
Well, the good news is, at least, look, it's short sample size, and it's only really last week, but it looked like there was some nice growth by those guys, the younger guys, in terms of, I didn't see the same kind of missed assignments. I didn't see some of the other mistakes, that we maybe saw a little bit earlier when they were thrown in there. So that's a credit to Sean Desai working with them and getting them better. So that's good too. I mean, if these guys are growing, Derek, and then you throw a Byard in there, a vet like that to help them, it's good. I mean, as much as would you rather Slay and Bradbury and Byard all be 25? Of course, but experience can help you a lot too, where you may not have the same kind of athleticism. Then you mix in the younger guys also. Yeah, I don't know what the status is of Blankenship. I know Sirianni said he was hopeful. I know Desai speaking today. So if they could get him back and they could team the Middle Tennessee fellas up, that'd be pretty nice to be able to get those two going. That's for sure.
Here's the thing, if Reed's not ready to go this week, you're playing Washington,
right?
Okay? And Washington gave the Eagles all they can handle the last time they met and took them to overtime. Okay, but you're still playing Washington. You're still playing a young Sam Howell, and Washington's lost 4 of its last 5.
They have. Yep.
So, and now you got players grumbling out loud. So that's not a good mixture. You've lost 4 of your last 5. And players are now frustrated to the point where they're on microphones cursing now at people. Mm-hmm. Not at people, but at the way the team has been playing with the talent they have on that team. So this is a Washington team on the fringe of imploding. And you're not even halfway through the season yet.
Right.
And so I'd rather be facing a Sam Howell without Blankenship than facing Mahomes, Josh Allen, one of those quarterbacks, Geno Smith.
Yeah.
And hopefully the next time Blankenship steps on the field, the rib issue will be settled. He can play the duration of the season. But, we talked about this going in. As clean injury-wise as this team was last year, it's just the nature of the beast in the NFL. Teams that go through relatively unscathed 1 year come back, and they can't sidestep the injury landmines to save their lives. And the Eagles are going through it right now. Luckily, it's not something that has hit them in a very prime time position like a key wide receiver, a quarterback, something of that nature. It's just little nicks here and there that are costing players a game or two until they can get them back in the fold.
Well, the other good thing is there were multiple reports yesterday regarding Hurts and that knee. Expected to practice this week, play Sunday, thought of as not being anything real serious. So that obviously is paramount, man. That's the biggest thing you could possibly have. So that part of it is huge. Defensively, if you look at it, Derek, all things considered, there's positives and negatives. Let's start with the positive. They're great against the run. They've been awesome. They're the best team in football right now. They're giving up less than 63 yards per game on the ground, which is beyond good. Points allowed, they're middle of the pack, 20.1 points per game. Passing game, again, a little less than middle of the pack, 227.4. The passing game to me is a little bit more understandable considering the injuries they've had. Like, I can live with that part of it as long as we see steady improvement on that. I think the biggest thing is start getting more takeaways. If my checklist here of things I want to see from the defense, start getting more takeaways. I want to see some solidification, which I think Byard will bring to the secondary, which would be big. Maybe the linebackers just making a few more plays. They've been okay, but you just, at least for me, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here, I just don't feel like they've made a lot of where I'm like, oh man, Morrow, I guess, had a couple earlier in the year, but there hasn't been a ton since.
Well, not in the last 3 games at least, but they're playing solid. They're not liabilities. You're right. I would like to see this team get more turnovers. Right now, I believe they're -2 in the takeaway giveaway department. They've taken the ball away 9 times, but they only have 3 interceptions. This team was one of the top intercepting teams a season ago. They have 3 this year, and yet they've thrown 8 interceptions. And granted, some of those interceptions were not on Jalen. They were flukes. We chastise. Go back to last year. Same thing with the Dak. Dak racked up 15 INTs. Look at how many balls ricocheted off the hands of receivers.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks go through those things, but unfortunately they're tallied in a stat sheet as an interception. Quarterback threw the ball, it doesn't make a difference who touched it. If it's in the opposition's hands, that's an interception. I think they need to tweak that a little bit, but obviously they never have, and I don't think that aspect of the game ever will. But they have to get better. They've got 9 turnovers through 7 games.
Right.
That's less than 2 a game. That
ain't cutting it.
No, that's not what I expected to see. And that's not going to cut it as they continue to navigate through some of these tougher waters against opponents. That number could catch up to them. I mean, they've 3 weeks in a row consistently lost a turnover battle. Luckily, they lost one, they won one, over the last few weeks.
Oh, no, listen, no question. I think that area will get better as these guys get more acclimated and throwing Byard. And look, that's Derek. That's a lot of career interceptions. 27. That's a lot of picks.
I know.
So he is a ball hawk, and he is a guy. He's a center fielder back there surveying the field at that free safety spot. That's the other thing with him. He will get you picks. So that's another reason why this was a good move by the Eagles. That's for sure. But it is funny, man. Like you would think if you're Tennessee and the AJ Brown thing clearly has been a massive mistake just by human nature. I wouldn't want to be doing deals with Howie again, but hey, it is what it is.
And it's funny how he keeps going back to Tennessee to get what he needs. You can't blame Howie for trying, at least, and like I told you guys, when Howie said, after the Super Bowl loss, he said, this loss is going to stick with me for a long time.
Yeah.
So free agency, the draft, training camp, leading up to this moment, it's still spinning in the back of his mind how they let that Super Bowl slip through their grasp because that team was built to take it all. And they had a complete shutdown in the second. I shouldn't say the complete shutdown. But they gave it up in the second half. The first 30 minutes of that game they controlled. The last 30 minutes they let it unravel.
Yep.
And that is stuck with Howie.
Yep.
And, this move today, I don't think it's the last move from Howard. I really don't.
I don't either. I do not either. You never put anything past them too. That's for sure. All right. We'll come back. We'll look a little bit look a little bit deeper into some Eagles numbers, both on the offensive side and the defensive side. And we'll look ahead to the Commanders, Derek. We'll get them for the second time this season. As you mentioned a little bit earlier, played a very close game with them, escaped, really at home. But this game is in D.C., so we'll talk about that as well and some of the other things going down in the league. A little later, we'll do our typical NFL segment. Anthony Sanfilippo at 12:30 to get us ready for a game. First Game 7, by the way, in the history of the Philadelphia Phillies. Derek, they've been around since 1883, and they've never played a Game 7 in the postseason. How crazy is that?
I know, but is that good or bad?
It's bad. It means you haven't been in enough playoffs. it's bad, man. It's not good. Yeah. So we're going to experience something tonight we've never experienced before. So, hit the seatbelts. Get ready. All right. Let's tell the good folks, and we mentioned a little bit earlier about Blocks and what Blocks is all about, right? Blocks is the largest scholarship organization in Pennsylvania. They've raised $110 million in scholarship dollars just last year, all awarded to families who qualify for tuition assistance. Yes, awarded more than 17,000 need-based scholarships annually. You can direct your scholarship donation to any private or Catholic school in Pennsylvania. Participation in the program is simple and takes only a few minutes. You send your check to Blocks, B-L-O-C-S, B-L-O-C-S, and they do the rest. It's that simple. Blocks, BLOCS.org/tax credit. For more information, development officers are standing by to answer any questions you have, and you can have your account or financial advisor contact them, and they will walk you through from start to finish. Yes, average HHI of a Blocks recipient is $55,000. Demand for tuition assistance outpaces the supply of tax credit scholarships by nearly 3-to-1. There is little to no out-of-the-pocket cost for you to participate. For a few $100s, you can fund a child's full year tuition to a Catholic or private school. Blocks graduates 99% of their scholarship recipients versus 64% graduation rate of the Philadelphia public schools. 96 cents of every dollar raised by Blocks goes directly into the hands of a family who qualifies for tuition assistance, and it can be only used for scholarships and tuition.